So CPP, Canada Pension Plan, that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video when it comes to being self-employed or having your own business in Canada. So for starters, Canada Pension Plan is a program that was set up by the federal government to basically force Canadians to put money into retirement savings for themselves. So any money that you're putting into CPP should be money that you're going to be getting back at some point later on in life when you retire. Now, if you're an employee, you're paying CPP, you can look at your pay stub and you'll see that CPP is being deducted from your paycheck. That's being remitted to the federal government. And one of the nice things about being an employee is that actually your employer is matching your contribution. So the total amount that you're expected to pay is split halfway between you and your employer. Whereas if you're self-employed, you have to pay the full amount, both sides, the employee amount and the employer amount, because you are self-employed. So pretty straightforward. If you're an employee, your employer is going to deduct a certain amount from your paycheck. They're going to match that and they're going to pay that forward to the federal government. And then when you retire, you are entitled to collect that money. Now, when it comes to being self-employed, especially if you are exclusively self-employed and you don't have any employment income, then it's a little bit different. I mean, the amount is the same, but how it's set up and how you pay it is a little bit different. So for starters, the amount that you are charged on is based on your net business income. So that is your business revenue minus your business expenses. The CRA looks at the net income there and bases your CPP contributions based on that. Now, currently going into 2025, the percentage that you have to pay on your business net income if you're self-employed is 11.9%. Whereas if you're an employee, the total amount is 11.9, but that's again split in half. So 5.95% by the employee and by the employer. So that's one of the main differences for being self-employed, is that you're paying the full 11.9%, the employer and the employee portion. One of the other differences is that it's not going to be withheld from your paychecks, because if you're self-employed, you're not really getting paychecks. You're probably not on payroll, especially if you are a sole proprietor. All the money you're collecting is directly from your clients. You hang on to that money. There's no income tax deductions or CPP or EI deducted from, payments for your services or products directly from your clients. So how it works is you file your income taxes at the end of the year, or once, the tax year is done, and then the amount that you're supposed to be paying for CPP will be calculated, and then you have to pay that forward once you've filed your taxes. And as of right now, the maximum that you would have to pay is approximately $8,000 if you're self-employed. So even though it's 11.9% of your total business net income, there is a cap on it. So this is something that you can't really opt out of. When it comes to employment insurance, you don't have to register for that if you're self-employed. But for Canada Pension Plan, CPP, if you are self-employed, it's mandatory. It's going to be automatically calculated when you file your tax returns. And now this could be a little bit different depending on how your business is structured. So if your business isn't incorporated, you're just a sole proprietorship, a human legal entity operating a business, maybe using a trade name, then there's no separation between you and the business. So when you file your taxes, you include your business income and your business expenses on your personal tax return on the business section, the T2125 form, and then CPP will be calculated based on that. Whereas if you have a business that's a corporation, then it's legally distinct from you. There's a legal separation there. And so if that's the case, that you have a corporation, maybe you're not actually collecting any money from the corporation, or maybe you're just getting dividend income and you don't pay CPP on income from dividends. That's considered investment income. Whereas if you set up yourself as an employee for the corporation and you're on payroll, then that is employee income. That's not your business income in the same way it would be for a sole proprietorship. So if that's the case where you are an employee on payroll for your corporation, then you're treated like an employee, where the corporation should be paying half of your CPP and you, the employee, should be paying the other half. So even though you're self-employed in the sense that maybe you started the corporation and you own it and you're the only one working in it, if you structure it that way where you're an employee of the corporation, then again, it's very much similar as if you were an employee for a completely separate business. And now another thing is that maybe you're both. Maybe you are self-employed and you're also an employee. Maybe you work, full-time for another business, and then you kind of just have your own little side business that you do evenings and weekends kind of thing. Then in that case, your employer will be subtracting CPP, remitting it on your behalf and matching the contribution. Whereas if you're self-employed, then I guess the same thing. When you file your taxes, you claim your employment income and how much CPP you paid as an employee. And then on top of that, for your business activity, that will be assessed and it will be determined if you have to pay any extra CPP forward based on your business activity, and also relative to how much you paid through being an employee. You know, maybe you already met your max and you're already capped, and therefore your business activity isn't actually subject to CPP, or maybe you didn't, so maybe you have to pay some CPP from your business activity on top of what you're paying as an employee. So hopefully this video was useful, and I will leave a link in the video description below to the Government of Canada website that covers CPP, particularly for self-employed individuals. And if the video was useful, please click like, and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, where I currently have well over 200 videos that cover business management and business startup topics.